you all this fine day. I hope that if you're here, you subscribe to this channel if you're not already, and you check out the links that are down below. There's some social media, my website, a newsletter that I hopefully will update because the struggle is real. Executive dysfunction is a thing. And I wanted to, based off of whenever you might be seeing this, for some context, I am gratefully in a place that has not been directly affected by the wildfires that are going on the West Coast right now. Climate change is real, and my safety hasn't been affected, luckily, but lost power for like almost 48 hours, and didn't have any sort of other phone line connection up until like recently. So luckily everything is back in business right now, and hopefully people are staying safe and things are upward projection. But it brings to my attention because it was really difficult for me having a very abrupt change, and one that affects everything that I use to honestly just cope with every day and make it livable, to be frank. Just completely out the window. No idea. Pretty much isolated where I am. So not great, and that has been not great for my mental health. And I think it's so important to address the high prevalence of not only anxiety that I've talked about before, but also depression in autistic people. And just as I've discussed with the anxiety part, depression is just, it's to some degree inevitable, I think, for autistic, neurodiverse people, just based off of the mental emotional drain that comes from trying to live in the world, be taken seriously, just generally taking care of yourself while also maintaining some sort of good quality of life. Not easy for most people, and especially neurodiverse people. It's kind of just a constant struggle in a way. So I have dealt with depression for what is now over half of my life at this point, and I have been knowingly dealing with it much longer than I have being aware that I was autistic. So up until recently, I never put two and two together that my depression would very often correlate with when I would have an autistic burnout, and just that lack of awareness definitely didn't help anything. And up until, I guess, as of recently, my mental health has been pretty solid. Anxiety always exists because life, but just that awareness of being autistic really, really helped me in finding greater value and worth in myself, and having, I guess, a new standard that I have that is not what I was trying to do. But, you know, there's always going to be things thrown at you that can really trigger depression. A depressive episode, or if you're like me and you suffer from chronic depression, I have some degree of depression every day. I believe the technical term is dysthymia. Hopefully that's correct. Essentially persistent depressive disorder. So most of the time, my mood is much lower than everyone else's, and can dip lower in times like these that are difficult and you don't have the coping tools that you usually have at your disposal. And yeah, it's really draining. It's really exhausting. Two synonyms, I guess. And yeah, I am very honest with the fact that, I mean, again, I'm very grateful that all I have is really hazy, smoky air and gentle falling ash, which, again, no one should have to deal with. But I mean, it's a valid reason, though, to not compare, you know, this is more depressing than this, and trying to put things on a scale when they really shouldn't, because feelings are valid in any situation. So that's just what I've been dealing with. I've had a lot of trouble just thinking in any sort of communication. I was on the verge of a meltdown yesterday, so that's great. But I do want to put that out there because this month is Suicide Prevention Month as well, and that's always been something that I'm especially passionate about, a special interest, if you will. Just mental health awareness and breaking that stigma. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that, you know, you are an autistic person, and that does not put necessarily any, like, any sort of effect on